Welcome to session of sequence diagram. Okay, in this present module, we will talk about sequence diagram, which is one of the behavioral diagrams, specifically categorized as an interaction diagram. Okay, so my name is Reshma Dhursal, and today we will see what is a sequence diagram and details of sequence diagram. So the first part is interactions. Now, what is the meaning of interactions? Interactions means it is basically a unit of behavior of context classifier. Okay. In use case realization, the context classifier is a use case. Okay. So basically, what we can say, interactions between a classes or between a instance of classes, that means between objects. Okay, so these interactions, this can be the examples of interactions. Okay, so basically interaction diagrams focuses on the things, okay, that are lifelines and messages. So basically lifeline means what? It is a uh, candidate or participants in the interaction. It is called as a lifeline. And what is message? Message means a communication between these lifelines or these participants is called as a communication, or the communication is taking place using the messages. Okay, so this is all about interactions. And next is, what is a sequence diagram? So basically, sequence diagrams means what? It is a most common kind of interaction diagram which focuses on the message interchange between a number of lifelines. Okay, sequence diagram is a UML behavior diagram. Okay, and the major components of sequence diagrams are lifeline, messages, and interaction fragments. Okay, so here users tend to be able to understand sequence diagram better than any other diagrams. Okay, so this is all about sequence diagrams. So basically we have several objects of classes. So objects exist in the system. Okay, see, these are different objects, and these are the you can think of as a type. Okay, so objects exist on that time, and then they exchange messages between themselves. That one object may send some messages to another object, may receive a message from the object, and when you get a message you perform some certain computation. Okay? That is the computation associated with a particular operation, we can say, which has been requested through the message. If you recall, this was a basic client server model before. Okay, so sequence diagram is the first level by where we try to capture this behavior of the services provided by the object. Okay, and how messages request for certain service and how that service is responded. So this is all about sequence diagram. Now the first part of sequence diagram, that is lifeline. So basically, what is lifeline? As we have already discussed, that lifeline is a participant, or we can say candidate, in a sequence diagram. Okay, and the syntax of lifeline is shown here. This is one example. Okay, here you can see a rectangular box. Just a minute. Here you can see a rectangular box. Okay, so this rectangular box contains a name of lifeline, selector and type. So here basically what is the need of type means, here type means a class name, okay, for from which class it belongs to, okay. And selector means what? In this case, if there are more than one ID present in the system, then how you can identify which ID you want to use? Okay. So to select a particular ID, the selector is used in some cases. Okay. So this is all about lifeline. Just a second. So basically here name means what? It is used to refer to the lifeline within the interaction. Okay. Type means, as we have already discussed, the name of the classifier. Okay. Then selector means which ID you want to select in this particular case. Okay. And there are many syntaxes of lifelines. This is one of them, okay. And here you can also place one dotted line from this rectangular box to towards bottom, like this. Just a second. Like this. This dotted arrow is present. So basically, what is the use of this dotted arrow in a lifeline? So this is used for communication between two lifelines in a system. Okay, as this is a temporal relationship in case in a sequence diagram. Basically, sequence diagram is a depicts the temporal relationship. Okay, so to depict or to focus on the communication between two instances or two lifelines, hmm, we can use this dotted arrow. We will see further what is the use of this in detail. Now next, there are type of messages. So the first type is the message by action type, and the next is the message by presence of event. So difference between these two is that a message which reflects either an operation call and start of execution or a sending and reception of a signal. This type of messages comes under the action type. And messages by presence of events means a message depends on whether message send event and receive events are present. Okay, so these type of messages are in the presence of events type of messages. Okay, now we will see 11. So messages by action type covers synchronous call, asynchronous call, create, delete and reply. Okay, we will see in detail further. Now first of all, see what is a synchronous call. So these are this figure represent the synchronous call. So let us we just explain the concept. So there is an object here. There is another interactive object here, and this means something is in execution. Some method of object is in execution. Okay, so you send a message. Okay, a search message in this case, and to this particular interactive object, and as you send that, the search method or the search operation in the online bookshop objects gets activated. Okay, so that starts executing. You do a similar thing in the next figure as well. Here there is a service object, there is a task object. You can note that in all these cases, the objects are basically anonymous and you are executing some method of service. You send a message to a task which is start message. Okay, so basically the start operation in task will start executing. That is the basic structure of sending a message. Now you do note that there is a difference in the arrow. Okay, here there is a filled arrow in the first synchronous call, and in case of asynchronous call, it is an open arrowhead. Okay, we say this is if the arrowhead is filled up, we say this is a synchronous call, as I already mentioned. Okay, so between the requester and the requested, only one will work at a time when the requester has sent the request. So in the first case, that means in the synchronous call, if you send a request, that is in this case search, the web client is puts on the hold, okay, until the reply messages came from the online bookshop. But that is not the case in case of asynchronous call. Okay, the service lifeline in this case is not waiting for a reply message. So this is the basic difference between synchronous call and asynchronous call. Now here the next type of message is the reply message. So this is the syntax shown by dotted arrow. Shown by the dotted arrow is this is the reply message. Okay. So reply message to an operation call, and notation is dash line with a open arrowhead. Now here are messages by presence of events. So this type of messages contains lost message and found message. We will see detail. Now see, lost message is a message where the sending event is known but there is no receiving event. For example, in case of if take a Google search engine, if you are searching for something on a Google, and the result is not shown from the web browser, from the um, server, if the result is not shown on your browser, okay, then it is called as a lost message. This can be the example of lost message. Okay, and what is the what is the found message? Found message is a message where the receiving event is known but there is no sending event. Okay, so in this case, that is search, whatever you are searching, that is displayed on your web browser. This can be the example of found message. Okay, so web client sends search message which was lost, and in this case online bookshop gets search message of unknown origin. So in this case, the sender or sending event is not known, and in this case the receiving event is not known basically. So this is the difference between lost message and the found message. Here is a summary of messages. First is the synchronous message, next is asynchronous message. This is the third one is the reply message, that is message return. Creation, how you can create, the sender creates the target. Okay, and destruction is shown by this cross the arrow. The sender destroys the receiver. Found message and lost message. Now interaction diagram. So basically sequence diagram is a part of interaction diagrams. There are four types of interaction diagram. In that, the first one is the sequence diagram. So basically sequence diagram, as we have already discussed, that it is a ordered sequence of messages, and it shows the temporal relationship between lifelines. Okay, and what is communication diagram? The communication diagram is basically emphasizes the structural relationship between objects and are very useful in analysis, especially for creating object collaboration. Okay, and the third type is the interaction overview diagram. So interaction overview diagram is this shows how complex behavior is realized by a set of simpler interactions. We will see in detail how this diagram works. Okay, further. And the next is the timing diagram. Timing diagram emphasizes the real-time aspects of an interaction. Okay, so our today's topic is about sequence diagram only. We will see all this diagram that is mentioned here in the next session. Okay. Today we will see sequence diagram. Now here is the sequence diagram syntax. Okay. So basically all interaction diagrams may be prefixed with a SD. SD means a sequence diagram to indicate their type. So this is prefixed with the SD. Okay. You can generally infer diagram types by types from diagram syntax. Now see, this is the first sequence diagram to you, shown to you. Okay. So here note down the some things. Here SD is indicated. Okay. SD indicates that this is a sequence diagram. Okay. Then this is the actor, that is registrar. Okay. This one is the actor. This is a lifeline, that is registration manager. And this is another lifeline, that is uh, course. Okay. Or we can say it is object created after the communication taking place between registrar and registration manager. The object is get created. Okay. And that is called as a UML course. Okay. So in this case, first of all, the registrar send the message or send the message to a registration manager to add a course, that is UML. Okay, now see in this figure, sequence diagrams have time running from top to bottom. Okay, as shown by dotted lines, and lifeline running from left to right. Lifelines are placed horizontally to minimize the number of crossing lines on the diagram, and are placed vertically according to when they are created. Okay. So basically see here, on the dotted line, here is the rectangular box. Okay, on the register as well as on the dotted line on the registration manager. So basically this rectangular box means activation. So activation means what? See, activations means you can say it is a focus of control. Okay, you can place a long thin rectangles on the dashed line below the lifeline to indicate when a particular lifeline has the focus of control. These rectangles are called activations or focus of control. So basically what it indicates that the communication between two things, or we can say actor and lifeline, or lifeline or two lifeline, is started. This is indicated by a activations on the dotted arrow. So this is the essence of activation or rectangular box which is placed on the this dotted arrow. So we can conclude that activation or focus of control are the standard terms. Okay, and we will use this whenever it is needed. Now note here that when there is a message sent from registrar add course to a registration manager, then and then only the activation is started or focus of control started between uh, these two things, that is actor and lifeline. Okay, so now here you see the register actor starts with the focus of control. It sends the message add course UML to registration manager, which invokes its add course operation with the parameter UML. Okay, during the execution of this operation, registration manager has focus of control. However, notice that this focus of control is nested within the focus of control of the register actor. Within the execution of the add course operation, the registration manager creates a new object, that is the UML course object. See here, label course object is get created. Taking a reference from this add course message. Okay, so all the things are clear to you now, and one thing is remaining, that this reply message or return message. Just a second. This is the reply message, which is from registration manager to a registrar. Okay, so this is all about sequence diagram. Now, how deletion and self-delegation is take place in a sequence diagram. So, see, self-delegation means what? Lifeline sends a message to itself. Okay, this is a repetition. Okay, so that is called as a self-delegation. Okay, or we can say it is a nested activation. Okay, and object deletion is shown by terminating the lifeline step at the point of deletion by a large cross. Okay, that means, see, here you can see dotted line from this lifeline is ended with this cross sign. Okay, so this indicates that object is deleted at this point. Okay, and see here the similar figure which we have discussed is repeated here, but the only difference here is that the self delegation is implemented. Okay, so see in this figure, self delegation, that is a lifeline sends a message to itself. Okay, this creates a nested activation. Self delegation is very common in object oriented programming languages. So in this example, the registration manager lifeline sends itself the message find course UML to find a UML course object if one exists. Okay, and private operations of an object can only be called by that object itself by means of self delegation. Now see here, it is searching a find course UML object within. If it is not present, then it sends a reply message to a registrar that it is not present. Okay, or whatever the reply message he wants to send. So this is all about how you can delete an object and how self delegation is carried out in a sequence diagram. So this is all about this. Next is what is state invariants and constraints. So basically constraint means what? There are some rules which are applied on a diagram or sequence diagram, that is called as constraints. Okay, and state invariants means what? See, when you go from one state to another state, there is a state change. Okay, so in this case, see, when an instance receives a message, okay, this can cause it to a state change. Okay, a state is defined as a condition or a situation during the life of an object during which it satisfies some condition, performs some activity, or waits for some event. Okay, this can be a state. So every classifier or class can have a state machine that describes the life cycle of its instances in terms of the states they can be in and the events that cause them to transition between those states. Okay, so basically not all messages can cause a state change. Now for example, a message that simply returns the value of some attribute and has no side effects is not a state change. Okay, and you can show the state of the instances on the lifelines by using state invariants. So basically, why state invariance is used? To show the state of the instances on the lifelines you can use state invariants. Now in this figure there are some constraints which are applied. The first is the order. This is basically a order management system, okay, which is managed by customer, order management manager and delivery manager. Okay, so constraints here are: the order must be paid for in full by a single payment. Okay, this is the first constraint. The next is the item specified in the order can only be delivered after payment. Okay, that means the delivery will be done only after accepting the payment. The items are delivered to the customer within 28 days of payment. This is another. This is the third constraint. Okay. Now you can see that when an order instance is created, here, see, order instance is created. Okay. It is immediately transitions to the state unpaid. Okay. So this is a state invariant. Okay. Because as soon as order is created, the state is changed, which is shown by a rectangular box here. See, here there is a curve rectangular box. Okay, so this is a state invariant, and this tells you that all orders are created in the unpaid state. Okay, on receipt of the accept payment. Okay, see here, on receipt of the accept payment from order manager, which must be for payment in full, the order instance transition to the state paid. Okay, so now it is transferred to a state that is paid state. Okay, and at some later time the delivery manager instance is sent the message deliver. It forwards this message to the order instance, okay, causing it to transition to the state delivered. Now again state is changed, that is from paid to delivered state, that the delivery is completed. Okay, so these all are state invariant, we can say. Okay, unpaid, paid and delivered in this case. So if the order class also has a state machine, the states in that machine must correspond to any state invariants it may have on its sequence diagram. Now there is third constraint here, that is, see, there are two labels here, that is A and B. Here A and here it is B on the customer side. This says that the distance in time between the points A and B must be less than or equal to 28 days. Okay, point A marks the point at which the payment is made, and point B marks the point at which the products are delivered to the customer. Okay, so in formal language, what we can say, the order should be delivered no more than 28 days after payment has been received. So this is the constraint. That's why here it is denoted in a curly brace that B minus A should be less than equals to 28 days. So this is the constraint, and these are the labels A and B. So this is all about state invariants and constraint used in a sequence diagram. Now here there are some fragments. So basically, what is fragment? Now see, sequence diagrams may be divided into areas called as combined fragments. We will see in example how it is denoted. Now combined fragments have three parts: operators, operands and guard condition. Okay, so basically combined fragments have one or more operands. Okay, operators determine how the operands are executed, and guard condition determine whether operands should be executed or not executed. That means it is a boolean. It generates the result true or false. If it is true, then and then only the operation is carried out. If it is false, then the operation is not carried out. This is the meaning of this. Okay, that means execution occurs if the guard condition evaluates to true, and if it is false, then the execution is not occurred. Okay, so this is all about the guard condition, operators and operands in a combined fragment. Now this is the example. See here, uh, just a second. This rectangular box represents a combined fragment. Okay. Here operator name is defined. Guard condition is there. If this evaluates to true, then the execution is carried out on the operands, and if it is false, then execution is not carried out. Okay. So any guard condition must be placed above the first message in the operand. Okay. So this guard condition should be placed before the operands. So sequence diagrams may be divided into areas called as combined fragment. Each combined fragment has one operator, okay, one or more operands and zero or more guard condition. So here constant is that only one operator is there, okay, one or many operands can be there, and zero or more guard condition is there. Okay, so basically the operator determines how its operands are executed. Guard condition determines whether their operands will be executed or not executed. It is a Boolean expression in short, as we have discussed already. Okay. Here are some common operators, that is OPT means options, alternatives, loop, break and reference. We will see this using examples. Okay, this is one example how it is denoted. Here on corner side the operator is mentioned, that is reference. Okay, and what is the meaning of reference? The combined fragment refers to another interaction. So this is an example for reference operator. Okay, all these things we will see in diagram further. And these are the some rest of the operators which are less common in use. This is the example for operator OPT and alternatives. Okay, so OPT means option. So this is works like a if if then situation in a programming concept. Okay, so there is a single operand that executes if the condition is true. Okay, and if condition is not true, then it is not executed. Now in this figure, see, in case of OPT or option, there is no else part here. There is only one single operand. Okay, and if it is true, then it is executed. If it is false, it is not executed. But in case of alt, there are more than one choices are there. If the first condition is not true, the second will be executed. If second is not true, the third will be executed. Otherwise, the condition which is placed in else part is executed. So this is very similar to your C or C++ syntax of if else. Okay. So basically OPT and alt are having similar semantics, but the difference is that in case of OPT, there is only one operand is there, and in case of alt, there are two or more operands are present. Okay. So this is very simple as we have seen in C or C++ programming languages. Now here is an example with loop and break operations. Okay, so basically loop, why we are using loop? To repeat some statements. We will use a loop. Okay, so the loop syntax is like this, that loop mean, max and condition, that indicates that you are going from mean value to a max value, and within this loop you are doing something or repeating some statements where there is a need of loop. Okay, so it iterates from min to a max. Okay, and it iterates till the condition is true. And here there is in the this is a combined fragment, and this indicates that loop while guard condition is true. When this guard condition is true, then then only this loop iterates. Okay, and break means what? Break means it basically broken the loop. Okay, so break specifies what happens when the loop is broken out of. Okay, the break fragments executes the rest of the loop after the break does not execute. Okay, so this is very simple as in case of C or C++ as well. If you want to break the loop in some situation, you are using the break keyword. Here as well, if you want to break a loop, okay, you can use a break keyword. Okay, and after using break, the rest of the loop is not executed. So this is as simple as your programming concept, as simple as your programming concept. Here are some loop idioms. Okay, what type of loops you can use? That is for, while, repeat, for each. You can use for each object in collection, for each object of class. Okay, so this is very similar to your programming semantics. This iterates from I to n. Okay, sorry, I is equals to n to n. Okay, that means it repeats my m minus 1, my m minus n times. Okay, then this is while loop, while boolean expression. Okay, so the boolean expression means what? If that condition is true, then and then it repeats, and if it is false, it does not repeat. So this is all about loop idioms. I think you are very familiar to this looping concepts. There is no need to elaborate more on this. And thank you, dear. Thank you for your patience learning. And this is all about sequence diagram. We will see in next session what other types of interaction diagrams. That means interaction overview diagram, then communication diagram, and timing diagram. Okay, thank you so much.